You see how fucking cool that is? It's like you find a piece of gear that's GG and you're like, oh shit, I gotta make another class now for this one piece of gear that I found. But let's get into Last Epoch. This is the intro video. I honestly haven't watched anything. I just seen creators making content about it, so I thought it'd be pretty good. So here's Last Epoch. Hopefully this is not too loud. That's about right.
Save them. But the fate of a terror is sealed. I know you've seen it, traveler. You can run from it. You can fight against its grip. But in the end, all remains between hope and oblivion is time.
$11th-hour games. Oh, there it is. Huh. Oh, so it's gonna be $35 on Steam too. With the, I think they said it's gonna be no microtransactions, except for cosmetics. All right, so what we'll do here now is we'll watch Rax's video, see what he's here.
Made a video a few days ago talking about my future as a content creator. Said essentially that I was disappointed in Diablo 4 and waiting for some real content to come through whenever that may happen. I told you that I was going to start looking.
It sounds so not, I was gonna say disillusioned, but that's not, he's not disillusioned, he's the opposite. He's just like, yeah, this ain't gonna ever fucking happen.
Looking at the other ARPGs much more seriously. I have played Path of Exile. I've went far enough to get my 4 Void Stones, I believe that they are, and complete my Atlas tree. So I do have some experience in that.
Fuck, he's ahead of me.
Game. But I had never played Last Epoch. And I have some fantastic news, honestly, mostly for me, but for you guys as well. Last Epoch is fantastic. This is just a fantastic game. And
So a little background on Rax too. He's like, man, I watched a video of his where he was talking about his like personal life and upcoming and stuff. It was kind of interesting. But he's another one of those like, he's real, you know. He's not gonna he'll sugarcoat it, but he'll be fucking sarcastic about it. So like with the Diablo 4 and not having content, it's just like, yeah, but he's real. Like he'll give his real opinion, and it's hard for him not to. So I trust a lot. I put a lot of trust in what he says.
I'm quite sure that there's going to be a lot of people down in the comments that say something like, I've been playing this game for years. I've been telling people for years to play this game and nobody listens to me.
He's like the good Senator Palpatine. I don't know. He's always wearing that blood hoodie.
I'm going to have to agree with them. I'm very surprised that I have never played this before. And I believe it's scheduled to come out in December. And I just think you have to try this game, man.
Interesting.
If you like ARPGs, I think you have to try it. I think it's only like $35 on Steam, so it's half the price of Diablo 4.
Wait, can I buy this right now? No, you can't.
I think you're going to be very, very surprised by it. let me explain it to you this way. So I picked a rune master that plays Frostclaw. So I'm level 90. I'm getting close to like 200 corruption. That what it's called, corruption in the end game, which is kind of like your greater rift level, how far you are. That's not super far into the end game, but it's not nothing. And I am 100% sure that this character in this class is not what I will play again. It's just not my cup of tea. So it's not really the build that I would ever go for. And I'm still having a blast. How many games can you say that about? You pick the class and the build that you don't want to play, but it doesn't matter. You have fun anyway.
Last game that was like that for me. I like D3. I liked D3, but that was just me.
Which is why I'm so excited to make, I don't know, 100 different other builds. This is like the Rune Master Mage build. I'm sure there's some godly mage builds like the Sorcerer and Wizard, which I love in other games. This particular one is not one that I'm going to play again. I'm almost certain about it unless they change it. That's how much fun I'm having. I am going to spend a good amount of time learning about this game, and I have been so lucky. There have been so many fantastic people that have been in my streams this last week watching me. I had more people watching me play Last Epoch than Diablo 4. I can't tell you how many people watched me for a stream. They said, damn it, Rax, all right, I'm going to spend the $35, and they start blasting. I'm not going to get into any specifics about this game right now, but I want to tell you just basically why I like it so much, and then I'm going to continue to draw upon the knowledge. There's some Last Epoch devs in my stream. Some of them are pro players in like PoE and WoW, and now they're designing Last Epoch. I think that gives them a big advantage on
Oh, that's really fucking interesting. I didn't know that.
some of the systems that they're building. It might take me another week, multiple weeks, maybe another month of blasting, but I'm gonna try my damnedest to learn everything about this game, and I'm gonna make some beginner guides for you, which are really gonna accelerate your progression. Now, in the game itself, it has like the best search function ever. You just open up the help guide and you just press G for guide. And earlier today, I got a debuff called Glancing Blow. Just type in glancing, boom, tells you exactly what it does. This is the way that the game works. Let me just run you through a couple of things. Let me try to sell you on this for 2 seconds. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. Nobody told me to do this. I'm doing this completely on my own.
Hey, he's fucking excited.
Infinite stash tabs.
You can tell.
Infinite stash tabs. You click the plus sign, you buy it with in-game gold, which is very easy to acquire.
Oh,
look how many
so
stash
nice.
tabs I have.
Oh.
This is where I just dump all of my gear, all the uniques, all the legendaries. You can save them. I have 4 tabs of them already. I've only made 1 character and I had no idea what I was doing. All of your idols for arranging here. Let's say you like rearrange your gear and you're missing poison resistance. You can just type poison.
What is this, like, are these like charms in D2?
Isn't res, and there's a search function by.
Oh shit, he highlighted. Hold on.
You can look at it through all the tabs right here. Oh, here.
Chance to poison on hit, void resistant. Oh shit, yeah, they are. That's cool. It has its own fucking slot. I wonder if you have like overflow, you could stick it in your inventory.
Everything with poison resistance on it, and then the set items, and then the exalted items. And
Probably not.
Infinite stash space with a search function. Last Epoch has the best loot filter. I mean,
Wow.
You probably understand already. And it has a good hierarchy system where any rule at the top supersedes a rule at the bottom. So you might say at the bottom, hide all white and blue items because white and blue items suck. But at the top, you could say, if you find this one specific blue item that's perfect for me, you can recolor it and capitalize it and show that to me if that drops. Otherwise, I never want to see it. And they've done a good job of making the lower tier items valuable. And the way that they did that is with the
Like a
crafting
plus
system.
Yeah, like a plus
The
2.
crafting system. Do I have anything with forging?
So like in Path of Exile, like a plus 2 to socket or socketed
Potential.
gems.
When you go in here with the forging potential, how the ranks of this, sealing things, combining it into legendaries, upgrading them, having a chance to crit. having a chance to manipulate things with glyphs and with runes and learning exactly how to use these to maximize your potential. It's very easy to understand for a beginner, but there's many levels to it for a pro player too, to make just the godliest items you can possibly get. Every single skill in the game, follow me here, every skill has an entire skill tree.
Oh, shit.
Every
That's
skill in the
cool.
game has an entire tree that you can build into to customize your skill.
Oh,
Imagine this compared to Diablo 3.
Is he playing like a wizard?
Diablo 3, you have a, I don't know, Frostbolt or something.
Elementalist?
And it's got 5 or 6 runes that you choose, and that's it. In this game, you pick 5 skills and you build an entire tree out of them. Not to mention, you have your base class as a mage, then you ascend into something else. I chose Rune Master. Then you have all
okay,
of
yeah, so he is a
these
mage.
too. Might seem overwhelming. It might seem like, oh my god, here's PoE again. It's super overwhelming. It's much easier to understand than PoE. I played PoE.
Doesn't look too bad.
And I'm not the world's expert at PoE, but I played it. I mean,
When a tree doesn't require you to physically zoom out to see everything, you're not in bad shape.
and the games are fun, man. It's just a fun game. There's so many things.
Oh, that
to
one you
do
zoomed
in
out on, though.
monoliths. The end game system.
Just the end game.
There's different ways that they built in to make sure that you might want to farm one monolith over and over and over to target farm. Remember target farming? You can target farm something that you might really
I remember.
need. And as you play in that monolith, you build the corruption, and you want it to be corrupted because it gives you more loot. Then you might say, okay, well, if I'm farming in the Reign of Dragons, which is actually what I did until I got this thing, which I really needed. Okay, so I did that.
Whoa,
Once you farm there enough, you might say, okay, well, if I'm farming in the Reign of Dragons,
What was
which is
that
actually what I did
thing that he farmed?
until I got this thing.
Twisted Heart of Ukiros. Relic Unique Dragon Heart. 12% increased health. Ooh, that's nice. +1 to necrotic spells, +1 elemental, strength, increased cast speed, current health converted to ward when you directly cast a necrotic spell, current health converted to ward when you directly cast an elemental skill. Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Which I really needed. Okay, so I did that. Once you farm there enough, you might say, okay, well, I built all the corruption in the Reign of Dragons. Now when I go into something else to go farm something else I need, I'm starting at 0 corruption, right? They even thought of that. They built in mechanics, catch-up mechanics, where it scans for your highest level of corruption and tries to catch you up to that in the different monoliths that you're farming.
Huh.
I am sure that there's probably a lot of bugs in this game. There's probably problems in this game, just like any other game. It's been in beta forever, and it's supposed to come out in December. But I have to tell you, I am so impressed by this game. This game is way better than I thought it was going to be, and I would encourage you to give it a try. Why not? It's only $35, and maybe you can wait. Maybe I can release like some gameplay videos and stuff, or some starter guides, but this game's coming out soon, and I think the world is going to be a bit surprised. I think it's going to be surprised how good it is, especially from a smaller gaming company. This can only be a good thing, because this is going to set the bar pretty high. It's going to set the bar pretty high for Diablo 4's future updates. Path of Exile 2.
Graphics look good.
I'm guessing the team has already looked at Last Epoch, but they got to be looking at this and be like, all right, well, we have to deliver a product as good or better than this. That is not easy to do, because they're doing a pretty damn good job. So I give massive credit to the Last Epoch team. Not sponsored. Nobody paid me to say this.
Nobody told him to say it, but here's the fucking guy with the gun just off to the corner of the screen, pointed at him.
You might have to look into this, guys, because it's pretty damn good. Anyone that has experience with Last Epoch, you hated it or you loved it, post down below, give your honest opinion of it, and let's see if the comment section reflects my initial thought. Tomorrow,
I bet it will.
One thing
Let's
that
see.
happened, I didn't even know this happened. People are telling me that this weapon that I found is
My dog is freaking out. Melee void damage, chance to apply doom on a hit, increased doom duration, void penetration with doom, increased melee damage, increased leech rate. Ooh, shit.
literally like the godliest thing for the class I wanted to make, Void Knight. So I'm gonna make a
So I assume a void knight does melee void damage
spin
or some
to
shit
win
like that.
Void Knight with this weapon. Apparently I got the ultimate weapon, and apparently to get legendary potential, a unique can roll with no legendary potential or 1 to 4. Apparently getting an Apathy's Maw with any legendary potential is insane. So tomorrow I'm making a new class. I'm making the Void Knight, and we're going to put this thing on, and we're going to see how badly we destroy the game. But I really...
You see how fucking cool that is? It's like you find a piece of gear that's GG and you're like, oh shit, I gotta make another class now for this one piece of gear that I found.
miss these moments, man, where you get a really godly item. You're like, oh my god, I'm gonna go make a Void Knight now.
Yeah.
I mean, where do these experiences, where do these moments go? You know, it's something. It's kind of like finding a Thunder Fury on, or building your Thunder Fury, or getting a Warglaive dropped on Illidan or something. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking here. Last Epoch, pretty good.
See what they say. Oh, the last Epoch game respawn. Hey Rax, the team has been sharing this video internally and it's over the moon, enjoying the game to this degree. It's a huge energy boost to see something like this pop up when we weren't expecting. Thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah. Judd. I've heard this name before, Judd. As someone who's been playing since Kickstarter, I'm so proud how great job they've done with the game. I love it. Genuine. I think last Epoch will blow up coming December. Well, it's coming out February now, but as someone who started playing ARPGs with the D4 beta, I'm sorry that's your first ARPG. Immediately turned the last Epoch and waiting for D4 full release. I instantly fell in love. Yeah. See, mostly positive. So the next one up is Ziz's. This is a little bit longer.
Why should you play Last Epoch? Well, let me tell you.
Take a look at it. I know Ziz is a big advocate for this game. So.
In this video, we're going to be going over why you should play Last Epoch. It is coming out the 21st of February, and it's a game I've been following for a very long time. I first got approached by the CEO of Last Epoch in 2018, and they asked me if I would be willing to do a sponsored segment of the game and check it out. And if this is...
Look at the UI change. See the bottom left there? 2018 and then the alpha.
In 2018, and they asked me if I would be willing to do a sponsored segment of the game and check it out. And if this is your first time seeing
it looks
my
nice
content
now.
and you're unfamiliar with how I approach sponsorships,
Overlay.
I asked him, can I say whatever I want about the game? So I want to make sure that I can always, well, frankly, roast the game if it's bad. And to this day, Judd had the best response of any game. They said, Ziz, if there's anything wrong with our game, you can roast it, because we want to make a good game, not just make a lot of money. So that was a great response, and I did, because frankly the game was very bad back then. But since then, the game has been growing exponentially, and every single time I come back, which is roughly every 3 to 6 months, the game has had so many wonderful changes. And now that we're coming up on launch, I wanted to make a video talking about all the good and the bad things of the game and why you should give it a try. And I'll start off by saying it is pretty much the perfect middle ground between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile. Path of Exile is
that's what I heard.
complicated for a lot of people, where you feel like you need a PhD in order to just make
everyone can do Righteous Fire.
a functioning build to play the game. And then you have Diablo 4, which is super accessible and good for couch
You have Diablo 4, which is just on the autism spectrum.
co-op and things like that, but you do end up running out of content very fast, and maybe you feel like, I wish there was some more complexity that I could chew on. Last Epoch breaches that middle ground between the two games perfectly, where you do...
It'll be good if this doesn't have a console port, because usually the console port, like, it does weird things to the PC version of the game. I think that's what D4 suffered a lot from that.
Actually have quite a lot of stuff to do, and you feel like there is some cool stuff to figure out, but it's not as complicated as Path of Exile, and you can do builds on your own without following a build guide. So that's the quick TLDR. And also, it is very much the middle ground between Path of Exile being a free game and Diablo 4 being a $70 game, where Last Epoch is $35 with no in-game purchases other than cosmetics. That means that anything like stash tabs, like in Path of Exile, are things that you buy in-game for gold. It's not something you can spend money on. So $35 is all you're spending on the game. So now let's take a look at some features in the game and explain what makes Last Epoch so cool. So like games you have already encountered,
I feel like it's uncommon to not charge for stash tabs nowadays. Weird.
there are base classes, and they are a little bit more rigid than Path of Exile and a little bit more similar of Diablo 4. They do have subclasses, so the Sentinel is the base class and that has Void Knight, Forge Guard, Paladin, etc. And we can go in-game to one of my characters, Zizabir the Druid. And what is really, really cool about Last Epoch is that each skill has its own skill tree. And this is actually very, very digestible. So while in Path of Exile you are just like overwhelmed by a massive skill tree, here everything is a little bit more condensed. So you have character skill trees. So this is the Primalist. So as a new player, these are all the nodes you need to look at, right? For your first 30 levels or something.
All right. So this is kind of like a horizontal WoW skill tree, kind of looks like.
Pretty easy to go through and see what all of these do. A big relief is that respecking is very accessible in this game. A large problem with Path of Exile is that respecs are very inaccessible to new players, and that's something I think Diablo 4 did very right. And
yeah, the respec in Path of Exile sucks. You don't know what you're doing. You're not planning out your character. And you're just going along. You're gonna brick the character.
Last Epoch does as well. And then later on,
but you do kind of have to like limit it, right? You don't want them to be like, for him, he's a primalist. You don't want him to swap in between like Beastmaster, Shaman, Druid all the time. But maybe you do. I don't know.
Or between like level 20
I don't know
and
what the end game's like.
You will unlock a master class or ascendancy or subclass, and you can see that that also does not have an insane amount of things. So it's pretty easy to get a good grasp on what you want to do. And then you look over one skill at a time, and that has its own skill tree that will change the way the build works. For example, do I want to focus on having a lot of additional wolves instead of just one? Then you can make it so they have 4, 5, etc. wolves. And you can go a full summoner with summon Sabertooth and summon Bear, and then you go for wolf.
Oh, okay. So is this the pet build? Or can you do skeletons with like the necromancer looking dude?
Wolves, and you can have like a total companion limit and run around with a bit of a zoo build.
I don't want to do a zoo build.
Choices. And same with like Maelstrom, you can make this be something very similar to Path of Exile's Blade Vortex build, and it's very, very cool. And it's been really easy to just make...
Hold on. Summon Bear, Scorpion, Frenzy Totem, Sabertooth, Raptor. You can have all that shit at once. Summon Wolf. But we could have like a pack of wolves, right?
My own build and play around with it even on hardcore, so you're a little less pigeonholed, and a part of that is the game is a little bit easier than Path of Exile. That's not to say that it doesn't have challenging endgame content, because there are things that are really hard, especially on hardcore, that I haven't yet done at the hardest level, and we can talk more about that later. Another thing I would like to showcase is Last Epoch's Invoker. If you're a Dota player, you're very familiar with Invoker, and the concept is basically, this is a character that has a large amount of skills in one skill. So it's very, very cool that you have like different runes or different other spells you can cast, and they will trigger a rune, and based on that, you can fire a different spell. Now, normally the way this would work is that if I'm casting 3 fireballs, I'd be getting 3 fire runes, and then my R would cast that as a different spell. However, I've actually done a skill point that locks them in to be the same 3 combos. So because I have my Frost Claw followed by Fireball followed by Frost Wall, it is going to do Cold, Fire, Cold, and then this Runic Invocation will actually give me a huge buff. So you have so much stuff that you can do there, and then I can actually just spam my Fireball, and I'm basically doing an...
It's kind of like a rogue combo.
Night proliferation thing. So you can see that anytime I'm hitting something,
Kinda.
it'll proliferate the fire. So you have a lot of flexibility. And obviously with a skill such as this, there will be some things that are more powerful than others. And while it does have, I think it's 30 or 39 skills or something, there are like at least like 10 different ways to build that skill that are really viable. And obviously all that needs to change for different skills to be viable are different balancing changes. So there are a lot of really cool skills there, especially visually appealing skills. Next up, I want to talk and explain a little bit about Last Epoch's item system, and something they do extremely well is that both drops and crafting is very exciting. It's very easy for a game to be very one-sided there, where it's all about the drops and no crafting at all, like Diablo 4, or it's all about the crafting and the drops don't really matter, like Path of Exile. I feel like Last Epoch does a really good job at hitting a beautiful middle ground where you kind of need both for every item. So you drop the base type, which obviously like most RPGs, there are different base types. There will be like easy or normal versions of an item that you drop when you're low level, and there will be endgame versions of an item that you drop when you're high level. And like most RPGs, Last Epoch has prefixes and suffixes. So you can see if I hold Alt on the item here, it has up to 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes. And these go from tier 1, so tier 1 lightning damage would be very low, all the way up to tier 5.
Okay,
That's the highest you can craft.
tier
We'll
5
show
is the
and talk
highest.
about the crafting system here in a second, because it is very interesting. But there is a tier 6 and a tier 7 thing that is drop only. So basically what you're looking for then is you'd be running around looking for these exalted items and find a tier 6 or a tier 7 item that has one stat you want, and then recraft the others. And maybe it has several of the stats that you want. So we will use this axe as an example. So let's say that we want a character that wants a lot of void damage, and maybe we're doing a like melee void strike on a different character. Now you can see here that I have different options. The void damage is already tier 6, and I cannot naturally upgrade above tier 5. But I can see that the melee attack speed is a
Yeah, T6, so you can only find T6 and 7 in the wild, and you can't craft it.
tier 1. So I can actually force to upgrade this. Each item has a different forging potential. That's how much crafting you can continue doing, and it tells me now it'll cost between 1 to 10 forging potential. I could also get very lucky and do a critical hit, which will cost 0 forging potential, and randomly upgrade one of the other mods that aren't tier 5 yet. And that system feels incredibly rewarding just here. The fact that I can choose exactly what to do, and if one of these were empty, I could actually choose whatever I want. So if it didn't already have frailty on melee hit, which is something that makes enemies a bit weaker, like it'll tell you on it by holding. So frailty reduces damage dealt by 6, and that could be a really good thing to have on hardcore. And I could just freely add this. You just choose to have this on the item, and it comes at the cost of some forging potential. But now, let's say that I want to upgrade the melee attack speed. I can use a glyph. We have a glyph of hope, which now is a 25% chance to have 0 forging potential lost. This is really, really good for endgame crafts, and not something you'll use during the campaign. But what if I don't want this to be melee attack speed at all? What if I'm really hoping for something else? I can now basically use this as a sort of mini chaos orb from Path of Exile, and I will reroll this stat. Wow, I got critical strike chance. That was exactly what I needed for my character. So that is a really, really cool thing. You can see that it now has 33.
So you can reroll.
And that is, for example, if the crit is really, really good, like it is right now, it is 80% crit. It's at the highest range.
You can reroll individual stats. Interesting.
Within the tier.
There's a lot more flexibility than changing the whole fucking item.
If I use a glyph of order when I upgrade it, you can see now I upgrade it and it's still 96%. Like if I didn't do that, it had a chance to now go down to 83%. It would still be higher than the 80 it was, but it would be at the bottom of the range. This is just a random leveling item for a lot of builds, but it has something called legendary potential, and this is a great segue to talk about one of my favorite features in Last Epoch, legendary potential. The way legendary potential works, which is particularly cool for leveling uniques, is it will allow you to smash a rare item into a unique item. Every unique item in Last Epoch can spawn with between 0 to 4 legendary potential. The more common the item is, the higher the chance it is that it'll have legendary potential. So what is legendary potential and how does it work?
Oh, so Rax had that like void void hammer or whatever, and it had 1 legendary potential. So like it's or an axe or whatever it was. And it was hard to get. So like to have 1 legendary potential on it was crazy, I guess.
You can actually smash this together with a tier 6 or tier 7
Practical
salted
example
item,
later in video.
and it will
Okay.
take some of the stats. If it has 4 legendary potential, it'll absorb the entire item. If it has 2, it'll absorb 2 at random. And here you can see a leveling item, Firestarter's Torch, and this had 3 legendary potential.
So the red is the absorbed stats from a rare, right? Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. So it has chance to inflict spreading flames on hit, fire damage inflicted spreading by spreading flames, increase fire damage over time, -4 to fire spell, mana cost, and 4% movement speed, increased movement speed, and then he smashed in 5% melee critical strike chance, 157 increased fire damage. Wow, that's nice. And then 45% chance to slow on hit. That's probably pretty nice too.
I smashed this together with a another scepter that had 157 fire damage, and I got really lucky and it kept that fire damage, making an insane leveling item. And I'm actually kind of proud that that was my suggestion to the game to the developers, and a lot of players don't like doing the campaign repeatedly in ARPGs. I talked to them and I was like, it would be really cool if we could make super cool twink items to level through the campaign really fast. And they thought that was a really good idea and put it in the game and remove the level requirement.
Yeah, so this would like all the uniques that are not used in games, all like uniques and legendary items that are like suboptimal, they're like lower tier power. You can just like take a rare and smash into it and make it like a tier 1 or a tier 0 unique
Of making
power level, or like at least better than what it was. It's pretty good.
Play through the campaign every season is going to be very similar, but on your second and third, you might have really cool items that you're looking forward to using, and I think that's a great way to approach
Ooh,
that.
that is kind of
Another
exciting.
really good selling point of the game, I did previously mention that respecking is very easy, and it is. So the more you level, there will be a minimum specialized level. So if I completely unspec out of this, it will go all the way to like, I believe, yeah, right now level 5, and later on that will get higher. So you will have like a minimum required level that it will start at when you get a new skill or when you respec entirely, and you have
Despecializing will remove all skill points and experience from the skill and allow you to specialize in another skill in its place. The new skill will start at your minimum skill level.
accelerated XP gain
So his would
until
be
you're
5.
caught up with your other skills. And if you don't want to start over completely, you can just remove 1 point entirely for free. And for your skill tree, you can just click on a point and remove it.
Oh, I see. So the penalty for respecking is it's like in PoE, like you leveling your gems, they become unleveled to a certain point.
So we can go here to Rune Master, and I can just like remove it for 140 gold.
You lose experience.
So it's actually very, very cheap and accessible to respec, which is a really good thing. The only downside is that currently you cannot switch. If I've chosen Rune Master, I cannot unspec out of that and choose a sorcerer. So you really have to be careful when choosing your ascendancy. This is, in my opinion, a really big negative of the game and something that they should change and make it easier to switch between them so that you, especially as a new player, have a little bit more room to experiment.
I see. You
Maybe
can't
didn't
swap.
like the Rune Master after all, and you really want to try a sorcerer. But if we're lucky, maybe we'll be allowed to respec between them in the future. Items in a lot of games can be big and problematic. It can clutter the screen a lot, and maybe in games like Diablo 4, you'll see a large amount of white and blue items that you're no longer interested in, and you don't have any option at all to do anything about it. In Path of Exile, a loot filter is entirely mandatory, and if you're playing without it, your entire screen is covered, and even with a weak loot filter, you can simply not see anything at all, and you end up spending hours making a loot filter on a third-party platform. Last Epoch has the most elegant solution I've seen so far to a loot filter, and everything is in-game and you make it as you play the game. Now, you can just import a loot filter by somebody else, but it's very straightforward to make your own, and I always do that. A thing I do for all my characters.
It just takes time to do this, but it looks.
Plus fireball,
Once you get into the game, you'll probably understand it.
Etc. I always want to see every, skill level up so that I can disenchant that in case I want to play a different build. So I add that to my filter on every character. Let's see. Okay, I want everything that's like important for the primalist. You know what? Let's check everything primalist related.
Oh shit, they like sort it by class specific. That's fucking cool.
And I can just like recolor that, choose a color, and you have so much choice. It's very straightforward because you just click on what affixes you want. I think the game does a pretty good job at telling you what's important. You're playing a melee build, you probably want melee physical damage, etc. So it's a very intuitive and easy loot filter that you build on the fly. And maybe you like just want to see Solarum Greaves real quick, you can just turn that on or off with the click of a button. And obviously we could talk about this for a long time and explain more about how the system works. But hopefully just by seeing this, you can see how straightforward
Dragonborn
it is.
axe with 3
Very easy to
affixes
just
and
add a
tier sum
roll
5.
and play around with the conditions. Whether you want a base type, whether you want a special rarity, and things like that.
Yeah, so typically if you make your own loot filter, it's going to be what are the optimal pieces of gear that can drop for other classes, and then you might want to look at a little bit more things in your own class that you're playing. And then all the like rare stuff that drops you want to be able to see as well.
It's wonderful. Now let's talk about the endgame content of Last Epoch. And it actually
Gotta figure out
does
how to
have a pretty
populate that.
robust endgame. I would say it has more content than Diablo 4 and some really cool things to do. But this is also one of the weak points of the game. If you're coming from Path of Exile, it does not have as much content yet because, well, we are getting ready for the initial release of the game. However, they are going to have leagues and add endgame content, so very much looking forward to see what they're going to do here. But first, let's go over what the endgame content is in the game. So here you can see different islands. You start off here and you have a level 58 area, which is very similar to where you are when you're finishing the campaign. And you have something called the Monoliths of Fate. And you will be on one of these islands, and later on you will have a normal zone, which is 58, 66, then 70, etc. And later you will have area level 100 monoliths. These are like high level endgame things. But let's go look at the normal one, and here you can see that there are loads of different islands.
Well,
And here you have a lot of
it's like
different
an atlas.
player agency on what type of content you want to see. So what if I really want like exalted helmets? That would be like helmets with tier 6 or tier 7 mods on them. Then I'll be looking for that. And these will be more available in the endgame ones. But even early you can see like here I'm getting piles of gold. Here I'm getting affix shards. Here I'm getting glyphs. And there will be others with runes. Others that have a guaranteed unique. These have guaranteed rare helmets, etc. And you're basically going through them similar as a map in Path of Exile, a little similar as a rift in Diablo.
Kind of looked like almost like Delve, because Delve kind of shows you like, oh yeah, this is a piece of gear over here. Oh yeah, this is this over here.
Where you're going through the area and you're just
Like a Delve map.
killing some simple monsters. There's nothing crazy in depth here. It's just a nice and enjoyable grind, and you're building up something called timeline stability. As this increases, you can see that you're going past different thresholds, and once you've reached the third one, you can do all these quests here at the side, which are static encounters. It'll be
Okay, so I think this is what I essentially need to do in Path of Exile tonight, is like start going through the maps and counting up the slots for the 3 different
sort of
bosses.
like a mission. So here you'll maybe have to do some mini bosses here, and here you have an
Going through like
actual endgame
16
boss that'll be a
maps or
little bit
whatever.
more beefy, and they have their own loot table similar to other games that you might have played. And then once you've finished doing one, you get to choose unlocking one or unlocking the other, and you get a buff. So the buff that I've chosen here, and this affects all the stuff, all the other monoliths I've got, I now have a 13% increased drop rate. And now I have the choice, do I want to unlock the Black Sun or the Stolen Lance? So sort of like slightly easier, slightly harder. And then you do want to obviously unlock everything eventually, because you do get these blessings. So this is increased helmet drop rate. This is increased dodge rating. This is increased chance to hit. So you can sort of choose to buff your character through these as well, or you can get increased loot drops. They have sort of targeted loot. For example, the Black Sun focuses more on helmet drops, and the Ending of the Storm might focus on others. The only one I do know is the Black Sun, because that's what I've been farming the most to try to get a unique helmet that I designed in the game. On top of this, you do have endgame dungeons that there are
Poggers.
keys for. So here is one of the dungeons. This is Lightless Arbor, and this is the dungeon that is a gold sink. So
Oh
you have
my
different
God.
tiers
I
of
like
dungeons.
Zizan.
So you can do 1, 2, 3.
I like this and everything he does. The one thing I don't like is he plays with the overlay, like smack dab in the middle of the screen. And I know a lot of people do that, but it's not how I play.
Four is really
the only thing I
hard,
can
and
fucking
I
look
need
at.
to have done the tier before to unlock it. Oh yeah, I need to light the kindling. That's it. It's been a while since I've done
All
that.
the things you need to avoid looks.
Light the kindling.
Oh, so he's doing some like objective things too, like he's got to click on certain things while
There.
avoiding shit.
Never burning that.
You avoid the falling explosions.
I'm a minion build, so they're just killing everything else. It's kind of Arcali's Fang. This is the helmet that I designed for last Epoch. Pretty happy with it. The fight's more like you have to survive and then burn it. There, and then
Kill the heart.
insane damage.
Kill it.
Cool.
I feel like he's like a little bit over leveled for this. Which is fine.
Alright. Fight done. Now this is the easy version of the fight. Oh, I haven't seen that before. Not leech health. Wow, that's a lot of crit chance. I guess that's new. So now we can go into the vault, and this is the main part of the mechanic. So now we can say yes or no to different chests. Like, do we want a chest that drops several idols?
Oh, this is what we get
No,
for
we
after
don't.
like
Do we
completing
want a chest that
the.
drops a rare item, an exalted item, and a unique, and a set item? Sure, that sounds good. A unique weapon? Ah, don't really care.
That's
and
gambling.
goes up in price. Drops an exalted helmet, exalted body armor. Oh, cool. Let's do that. Glyph of Despair to all chests. So now the more chests that we've accepted, the more Glyph of Despair we got. 45% more items, and it is multiplicative. Glyph of Despair to all chests again. Okay. And then duplicates all item from random chest.
Wait, so this currency that he's spending up here, is this all from? I wonder if this is all from just doing this one map, and it doesn't like transfer over to other maps.
Stop now because I don't want to use all my currency.
Oh, okay. So it does transfer to other maps. Oh, this is gold. Is this gold? I don't know.
And we can't click decline. Oh, I didn't know it would go that much down in price. Decline, decline, decline.
Oh, come on. It was quant. You don't want quant?
So you can like play around and gamble, and it will cost like more and more gold. Life of Despair. Several exalted items. Adds an additional exalted item to all chests. Okay, we'll do that. And then now we'll enter vault, and you can basically choose how much gold are you going to put in. So this
Oh, it is gold.
This is a really good thing where you maybe want to have like a lot of gold saved up, and you go for 1 giga run, and that's a really, really cool thing as a sync. And now you can see we'll get a little bit of a loot
Gamba.
explosion, even though
Gamba.
a large amount of gold, and you can see some crazy explosions.
Oh, it's a set item.
And some of these could be really good, and you
Death
would
rattle.
generally look through and see if there's any of the items that you need.
Yeah,
I
highlight
think
the
that's a really
sword.
cool
Highlight the
thing,
sword.
for a game
Oh, you might not be able to show that
now.
off.
I think gold sinks are really, really important for a game, and that is pretty much the Lightless Arbor dungeon.
Oh, he totally
Next up,
skipped
we
over it.
have the Temporal Sanctum, and this is pretty cool. I can do level 100, but I've never done so in hardcore. This character is hardcore. So
Oh
I'm just
my
gonna do a-
god. What big balls Zizzering over here doing a showcase with fucking and hardcore. I'm sure they'd give him his character back, but
yeah, we'll do a level 80. That's fine. We'll do a level 80 just to show it off. And this is a dungeon where you're basically going between 2 different realms. And this is the dungeon where you make the legendary potential items. So now you might already be confused, like, oh my god, what's happening now? You need to shift to the other realm to
Ooh.
access the dungeon. And that's what
That's
this dungeon
cool.
is all about. And this is really cool because this is also what the boss is all about. So in the boss fight, you can shift
Hey.
in and out of different realms.
I'm going to the
avoid
upside
boss
down.
fights. So the boss actually has a move that it charges up and it'll fill the entire arena and it'll kill you. It'll one-shot you. But then you have to shift into a different reality to avoid the attack. It's very, very cool. I think this is the best and most well-made dungeon they have currently. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the barriers being there so much. The dungeon
it's weird
boss now drops.
It's kind of weird you couldn't shift between the barriers. That'd be kind of cool, like if you went to the dark area and some of the barriers were like bent and broken, vice versa.
glyphs, etc. Then we move to the next one. I think it's either one more level and then the boss, or now the boss. We're about to find out. Yeah, so now we are at Chronomancer Julra, and this boss is really hard.
It keeps shifting. It feels like I'm having a fucking stroke.
And kind of similar concept to PoE, where if you have a lot of damage, you can just get past the boss. Now, I have to shift out of that move, or I will just die. And obviously, like, having high damage...
Oh, was you talking about the ring that was growing?
Kind of annoying. They're killing my squirrels.
One attack.
And it has loads of different moves.
Nine attack.
Oh
Whoop.
god.
Oh!
And...
Maven shit. Oh yeah, that thing that
and
expanding.
this is one of the lower versions of this. So at the highest level, it is really, really hard. And something that would make you like really want to optimize your build. Now, I actually haven't played this build in quite a while. So it might have been like really like dated and some things might have changed.
You got smacked. Getting smacked.
Skill point wise. Oh my god.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Oh my god. I'm dying.
Yeah, he just took a 60% health hit. But it was like a slow down to his health.
Well, that was a close one. It's very good that I only did the level 80 dungeon and didn't go the hardest one. But, yeah. Woo! So, and this is a good way to describe legendary potential and actually show you. So, legendary potential is really rare on endgame items like Ravenous Void, which actually saved us in this fight, which was nice. But on low-level leveling items, they're very, very easy to get even up 3 or 4 legendary potential. And one of the suggestions I made was remove the level requirement when you create a legendary item so that we can make cool leveling items for our characters. And that's what you can do now. So you can see that this is...
Yeah, in D3, the level alts and stuff, they had Gem of Ease. And what it was like, you could take a level 70 was the cap level. You could take a 70 bow, which did like the maximum damage. And you can put a Gem of Ease, a leveled Gem of Ease into it, and it makes a level requirement 1. So you could use that to level up, and that would carry you like level 61 to 61 in like no time.
Is a leveling item with no level requirement.
And I actually thought that was fun because like your first character every season you did was kind of slow and arduous. Like it would take 2 to 3 hours to level 1 to 70, but then every subsequent character would be pretty quick. But it would be like, it wouldn't be, I didn't think it was too much of a chore to do. I kind of liked it.
For a rogue, and has bow fire damage, attack speed, and fire penetration. And this is a endgame bow. And let's see. So right now it has 6 critical strike chance, bow attack speed, chance to ignite,
and an empty slot.
Let's see about adding another suffix, shock on here. Why not? And we will add that with a glyph of hope. And then we're going to upgrade the bow attack speed all the way to tier 5. Now, we would have liked to continue upgrading the chance to ignite afterwards. But either way, now we have bow attack speed 19% and critical strike chance 110%. Now, this is a leveling item, so we could have done the easiest version of the dungeon and have no risk. This is a harder version, and this is pretty much always deadly unless you have a very strong build. So now we can put in this, and we can put in this, and this is now going to choose 2 of these stats. If it had 4 legendary potential, it would consume the entire bow and just put all
but it's random.
Obviously not the implicits at the top, like the bow damage and stuff, but it would put all the explicits into the bow. So now we're hoping it chooses bow attack speed and critical strike chance or ignite on hit. All of those will be pretty okay. And this isn't an item I really care about. This is just an example. And then it just consumed your item. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
You have to go to the different realms to get it. And we got bow attack speed and 19% chance to shock and hit. And you now have a unique item
I didn't get
that
the
nobody
ignite.
really else has. You can make some really cool stuff, and there won't be that many that'll be just alike, right? Because it's hard to get high legendary potential, and most people are going to be choosing the exact same rare items. So I think this is such a cool system, and I love this dungeon in Last Epoch. It's amazing.
It's cool.
Next up, we have the Soulfire Bastion, and this is a bit of a gambling dungeon.
Yeah, gamba.
And here we have Soulfire shields. So right now it's shielding me against
Fire damage?
the chaos damage infliction thing, and the other one shields against fire. So yeah, necrotic or fire is what it shields against, and you have to like try to balance like how little you're using this. If I remember, Yeah, it costs Soul Ember to switch between, so the less you can switch between, the better. And then you want to go farm as many Soul Embers as possible. So we are just gonna run around and farm as many of that. Okay, here we go. Fire and Lich, and now we have to be careful with what mode we're in. Whew. Now I don't actually remember what one shots and what doesn't. Obviously, if you're very strong, you might not need to use any of the we're immune to fire right now. That's fine. He's dead. This was the super easy version. Like, it actually can be quite challenging. I just want to show off the part at the end.
Yeah, okay,
I don't want
okay.
to rip any of my hardcore characters while showing it off.
It would be funny though.
So here we are at the gambling part. Soul Gamble. So now
Ooh.
you can think, what do I need the most? Like, what do I need the most for my character? Is there a unique item, let's say, like the Ravenous Void that I really want to buy? Then, well, maybe I want to buy this and it has a chance. A unique item. And there's one legendary potential, and it's Leo's.
Alright. Hold on a second. I heard a loud noise. I'll be right back. Yeah, my wife's clumsy. Actually. I just want to make sure she was okay.
Pretty good. If I remember right, this is a really nice build. And then you're going through and thinking, like, what item do you need, what base type, and you know, there's quite a lot of different ones you can buy. So I could do this and try to get Herald of the Scurry, or plus Wolves. Doesn't have any of that. With body armor, you can see that it is on average giving you quite nice things. Not a good item, but a pretty cool mechanic, and you can obviously try to get even more sulfur.
Gamba.
You can get better or worse things at the doors. So that is the 3 dungeons of Last Epoch. You do have the Endless Arena as well, but I wanted to show them off because I think there's some really cool concepts here, especially the end goal. I think the middle bit where you're running through barriers can be improved and worked upon, but the end bit, really, really cool. Gold sinks are fun, gambling is fun, and the legendary potential is such a good mechanic. So I really wanted to share that with you. And all of these things, honestly, is a very solid endgame, but this is where I'm really looking forward to Last Epoch, really churning out some endgame bosses similar to Path of Exile's Ubers, and really giving us something to try to make really strong builds for. Trading in Last Epoch, something I just made a dedicated video about, and it is going to be a bit of a complicated one, but it has the most interesting and cool system I've ever seen. You're basically going to choose one of 2 factions, and from then on, items you drop are going to be tagged with that faction. So the TLDR is one where you will be able to trade freely, and you level up these factions. So early on, you're very, very limited in what you can trade, and eventually you'll basically be able to sell and buy anything you want that has that tag on the item. The other faction is sort of solo self-found. You can actually trade and play with other people, but only the people that are there when the item drops. So you will actually, if you're solo self-found, you will be dropping more and better items, and if you're trade, you'll be dropping less, but you can buy and sell with other people. So I think while a little bit complicated, it's the most interesting, and yeah, it does need its own dedicated video. That is the TLDR of it. I think it's the most interesting and bold choice I've ever seen for trade in an ARPG by tagging the items. And you can swap freely between them, but if you swap from trade...
The most interesting thing ever was the paid auction house in Diablo 3. Fuck, that was so good. I made so much money.
To the Soul Self-Found, or vice versa. Obviously, the items you're wearing is already tagged with the other faction, so you will need a new set of gear to be able to continue playing on that. So very, very
That's
interesting.
cool.
And obviously, most players will most likely not be swapping between.
Weird. It's like someone sat down and thought about, you know, some shit for a little bit before they made it.
Between them, very cool
Weird.
choice of how to deal with the problem of what should you do, trade or find items yourself. Another really good selling point of Last Epoch is its monetization. It is not free to play, but they have mentioned that they will have free to play demos, etc. in the future. It is a $35 game with basically no in-game monetization. The
Nice.
only in-game monetization is in the forms of pets and things like that, and different cosmetic armor, and none of these have any impact. The pets will not loot for you, and the armor will not make you stronger. They're just a way to show support if you want to look
Yeah,
cool.
I mean,
and you do actually already look very cool
can I have like gold armor with purple dicks all over it?
for free. What's missing?
Customizable
in
armor?
What do they need to do next?
It'd be awesome.
The only thing that's really missing is that they need some time to do leagues and add more mechanics to the game so that they can then give us more player agency and choose what we can do next. This is something that's very wonderful in other ARPGs, like Torchlight does this quite well, and especially Path of Exile with its Atlas skill tree gives you so much player agency over exactly what you want to do. And I believe that Last Epoch will get there once it has a few leagues under its belt and they can let us just choose exactly how we want to play the game. So that's pretty much it for Last Epoch. It is a wonderful game and I super recommend it. If you are interested in buying the game, you can actually buy it on Nexus through me. That'll give you a Steam key from the game, and it is a collaboration with the developers. So that is definitely something to.
Oh yeah, you should probably get him kickback, right?
Keep in mind,
gives us a kickback.
Steam, if you have access to localized pricing, obviously that is a lot cheaper. But either way, a wonderful game with a bright future, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this game is going to go next, and I can't wait for launch. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Sub if you like it, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.
Fuck yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm watching Rax's videos. This is video. Gives me that it's giving me that juice. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm fucking excited for this. Hopefully I won't get let down. I don't think I'll get let down from what I'm looking at. So I'm real excited, especially if they already had their hands on the game already, playing it in, you know, alpha or beta or whatever. It's gonna be good.